Hello! We are sat in the car park in St Andrews Golf Course, the Castle Course. It's my 40th birthday present, so shout out to Rick, Rouse and Ross. Got this for my 40th, been waiting for months for it to happen, didn't know if it would happen, but here I am sat in the car park. I tee off in an hour's time, so we'll have a quick little chat on the show. So first of all, thanks for watching again. Thanks to everybody that subscribed and commented on the YouTube channel as well. I think we're going to evolve the show. It was just a thought between myself and Chris, like I said before, but now we're going to try and evolve the show and add a few things to it as well. So yeah, let's get cracking and let's have a chat about all things Oulton and all things Knockhill as well. And Knockhill is quite far from me. I was going to say down the road. I'm off to Knockhill after this round of golf. It's dry at the minute. Hopefully it doesn't rain, but it definitely will rain because it's next to the sea. Anyway, an amazing weekend at Oulton. 2 wet races and the final round 3 was dry. I want to go straight into the people who we need to speak about. Jake Hill is one of them. Fantastic podium in round 3 after Josh Cook was penalised for ride height infringement. So Jake moved up from 4th to 3rd. I think it was excellent, but he had a stellar weekend. I said to watch out for him. It's a track he won at on the road, remember, in the trade price cars Audi last year. Yeah, that car's fantastic, obviously, the Honda Civic. He does a great job pedaling it, but I didn't know this. So he had a 3rd in race 1 and he had 2 7ths, which I thought was a great weekend. I spoke to Jake and he's still got this misfire electrical engine gremlin. The team and Swindon, the engine builders, and also Cosworth, who are the guys who put the loom and the electronics in the car, they just can't pinpoint what it is. So poor Jake on his outlap in round 2 had a misfire going to the grid. So they changed, I think it was the IDU unit on top of the manifold in the car. And because he had this problem at 4,000 revs under hard load, so low revolutions on the engine and full power or 3/4 throttle under big load, it was misfiring and causing him to be 20 odd horsepower down. So they chased that problem round 2 and round 3, changed it at the team, apparently changed everything with Swindon and Cosworth, couldn't get to the bottom of the problem. So yeah, a real shame for Jake, because I mean that is a hero weekend. That is 3rd and 2 7ths with that problem. I looked in the speed traps and he was bottom 3, and that's never usually the case for a front running car to finish 3rd and have 2 7ths and be at the bottom of the speed traps. I mean that's pretty special. So bit of a nightmare for Jake. Hopefully they'll get that sorted for this weekend at Oulton. But yeah, again, Jake, really, this is his big chance, and I just feel like he's been put on the back foot with all these problems he's having. But obviously Mark Blundell Motorsport, they're not going to mess around. They've thrown the kitchen sink at it, and when I spoke to Jake, he was adamant that these guys and girls were flat out trying to fix the problem, so he's got his fingers crossed. So well done to Jake for a great weekend. Matt Neal on his 700th race. Oh god, he had a nightmare, didn't he? Qualified, he actually qualified quite well, didn't he? But just had a total disaster. I think he had a 13th place on his 700th start, after having an infringement with not having a rain light on that wouldn't work in round 1, and then he was at the back of the grid for round 2, and then in round 3 was a disaster as well. So yeah, a real shame for Max. I was expecting big things. Matt always performs when there's something massive at stake. So a real shame for Matt. You know, the 60th anniversary British Touring Cars went and won that race at Snetterton, and he can pull out the big qualifying sessions when he needs to. But real shame for Matt. Couldn't get the job done. I tell you who else I want to mention, and this guy, there was not enough spoken about him, and the reason there wasn't enough spoken about him is because 1, he was a late entry into the Power Max racing Astra, but 2, he had a disastrous race weekend. he was just always at the back, and just had a nightmare after qualifying. The races just didn't go his way. But Mike Bushell qualified 15th with 45 kilos on board. Somebody that's not, you know, got out into free practice and just pedalled round, got used to the car, qualified at 15th, which was astounding. Even without the waiting, that would have been a great effort because it's so close. But for me, Mike Bushell, with 45 kilos in the car, only 15 kilos off maximum ballast, goes and sticks at 15th, but then has a disastrous race weekend. But the interesting thing from Mike's point of view is in the wet and the dry, I think he was one of the top 3 fastest people in the races. I looked at his lap times, and himself and Ash Sutton, and the guys at the front and Butcher who were doing the damage, Mike Bushell was actually as fast as those guys by like half a tenth. So interesting times, I reckon, for Mike Bushell now. So going to Knockhill, I'll be impressed, I reckon, with Mike. So see how he gets on. So good stuff from him. Bobby Thompson, a disastrous start to Saturday in qualifying. Went off on the outlap, filled his radiators full of grass, so the engine was starting to overheat, so he pulled it over, didn't continue, so started last round, and then in round 1 got himself all the way up to 14th. Not particularly rapid lap times wise, but just a really stellar job getting through the traffic. A lot of people who he passed were faster than him in the race, but he just got the job done. Made his way up to 14th from the back of the grid, and then ended up going into round 2, getting another 4 places, got himself into 10th place. Again, not particularly rapid, but a bit quicker. Him and his engineer made some changes and the car went better. And then we got a number 10 pulled out for Bobby Thompson on reverse grid pole, and then it all went wrong. An absolute nightmare for the lad. Spoken to him this week, he was just telling me that they had a bit of a problem on the outlap with the brakes. They couldn't quite understand what it was, but Bobby had a bit of a fade problem on the brakes. He wasn't too confident with it, and then that all unraveled, and he ended up all the way down, tumbling down the grid. And I think, if he'd have tried to maybe crack on and push forward, I think he might have caused himself an accident. So fair play to him. He sensed there was a problem, and I'll get to speak to him this weekend and see exactly what happened. But it was something around the braking area of the car. So a real shame for Bobby Thompson, but still, I thought it was quite a mature thing to do, and not just fire it down the inside and end someone else's race if you can't stop the car. So he was concerned about that. So well done, Bobby. I thought your round 1 and round 2 pace was fantastic, mate. Right, let's speak about the boy who is definitely going to push, in my eyes, Colin Turkington and Rory Butcher and Dan Camish all the way to the 2020 British Touring Car Championship title. Ash Sutton, unbelievable pace from that boy again. His qualifying started exactly like it did at Brands Hatch. Bit off the pace, expected more from him. Like I say, at Donington Park at the first round, he was absolutely amazing, real quick in qualifying, and then his race pace was even quicker. It was just unbelievable. But he seems to have not gone backwards, but it seems to be like a research in motion with that car. It's a new shell, it's a new team for Ash and BMR Engineering and his engineers. Just kind of like every session seems like a data collection session, and they're just trying to get their head around the car as fast as they can. And it's as if they're trying things and just seeing if they're working. And sometimes in qualifying it doesn't seem to work for them, but I tell you what, they could qualify 11th all year and Ash should still win races. I mean, what he did in round 2 was unbelievable at Oulton. Round 1 was a bit of a steady one, wasn't it? He went from qualifying in 11th, got up to P8, got some points on the board, knocked a bit of ballast off the car for finishing 8th, and then went into round 2, went from 8th all the way up to 1st, made light work of everybody, was a second quicker on a lap time than anybody else in round 2, got past Butcher for the win, did the business, drove off into the distance. That must have been a massive worry for all the teams. That when they seen that, that must have been a worry. They're worried about that car anyway, and Ash as a combination, but totally amazing. And then for Ash, a P4 in round 3 as well. So a fantastic weekend in the dry race, a P4, and then the 2 wet races, round 1 and 2, an 8th and a 1st. So still banging the points on. Doesn't matter. Doesn't seem to matter where he qualifies. That 1 lap pace, that will come, and then the whole package is there for me. And at the minute, as I say, when you're qualifying in 11th place, that can be the worry, because you can just get involved in someone else's accident. If you're qualifying in the top 6 most of the time, you can kind of see who's going to do what, but when you're 11th, it's a bit like, oh, what's happening next, and you can't see what's happening in front of you on the first 3 rows, say, so you never know what's going to happen accident wise. So fingers crossed for Ash, you can get the qualifying pace up there, and then, I mean, that is just going to be a massive headache for a lot of them guys who are battling for that title. But good stuff from Ash. It was amazing to see again. Josh Cook, oh Josh, I wanted to cry. I won't make light of it. Josh is one of my best mates, but I will tell him if he's done something silly, and I will tell him, or I will say on the television and on here if I don't think he's you know, got to his maximum capability of what he can do in a car. Cookie did nothing wrong all weekend, absolutely nothing. Fastest in one of the practice sessions, seemed to get the car underneath him where he needed it. Fast in the wet and the dry, absolutely amazing in qualifying. Stuck it on the front row, a nats off Butcher for pole. Cruised in my eyes to race 1, dropped back a bit from the start, got a bit angry, did one of the passes of the season, and I think it will be one of the passes of the season, into Druids. Nobody passes into Druids at Oulton. It's like the most dangerous place ever, especially in the wet torrential rain. And then he had a ride out infringement, absolutely devastated for him. You know, gutted. He didn't deserve that. It was a real shame. And then in round 2 got hit in the door from his teammate Michael Crease, who obviously wouldn't have wanted that, but that's just the way things go sometimes when you're battling hard. 3 into 1 doesn't go, and Creasy looked like he locked up. But yeah, one of those things, I'm afraid. But I caught up with Josh when I was leaving Oulton, and this is what he had to say. Josh Cook, absolutely horrendous weekend. Fantastic Saturday, Sunday ride out issues. Oh God, and then a nightmare with your teammate, mate. What happened?
Yeah, obviously not the best start to our campaign with Donington and Brands Hatch. Haven't scored many points. Obviously we had a podium at Donington, which was great, but you know, we should have had more based on the pace we had. You know what it's like in touring cars, sometimes it doesn't go your way. And yeah, we just needed to come to this weekend, have a good Saturday, have a good qualifying, and just focus on bagging 3 solid point scores on Sunday. And obviously Saturday went well. Front row, car was mega in the dry conditions. We then obviously rocked up today. Terrible start in race 1, but just clawed it back. Race 3, car was mega, and you know, decent race for us. But yeah, we failed to ride high just on one section of the splitter. I think it might have just dropped down. We had damage on the other side, so whether it just took a bit of a knock. But that's the way it goes, you know. I've moan all day. Rules are rules. You know, I've benefited from other people having this issue in the past. This time I'm on the bad end of it. So bit gutting. Obviously fought back in race 2, but a bit of contact just took me out of the race. So again, started from the back in race 3. And got back up to P11. And I mean, you know, once again, we've had mega pace. Car's brilliant. You know, the chassis is phenomenal. But we're just not getting the points that we deserve.
Yeah, that's a shame. And you know, what about Knockhill then? Saturday looks amazing now. It's nailed. Car should go around there pretty well, shouldn't it?
Yeah, hopefully. We went pretty well there last year. Took another podium there. Yeah, in race 3, I think it was last year. We should have really good pace again. Chassis mega. Just got to kind of digest everything. There's a lot of positives to take from this weekend, you know, without question. And the guys have worked so hard. You know, they were still here on Saturday morning at 2 a.m. finishing, you know, bits on my car that had arrived late. You know, little upgrade bits and pieces. So they just deserved so much more. So we've got to just digest it all, focus on Knockhill and just take the week as it comes.
Yeah, sound all right, boy. Listen, I'll let you go. Good luck, and I will see you in about a few days' time, and we'll hope for better things, mate.
Nice one. Cheers.
Cheers, Lid. So, somebody that has led the championship before and really started to get things moving over the last few years in the A-Class Mercedes, Adam Morgan. He's back to his brilliant self, Adam. I don't think he's ever left us. I just think that maybe the team have gone down a route that didn't work for them last year, and it's took them a while to get back on terms with things. But Adam Morgan, the winner of round 3 at Oulton, qualified 9th amazing. He would have been made up with that. He's just picking these points off all the way through. 7th in round 1, and then P9 picking up more points in round 2. Not the fastest car in the world anymore, but still did everything on that reverse grid. Starting in 2nd place, did everything on that reverse grid to lead that race and win that race, and he got his result in round 3 and won brilliantly with massive pressure from a very, very fast Colin Turkington. Looking at the lap times, Colin a consistent 3 or 4 tenths quicker than him, getting up to the back of him. Adam only defending where he needed to do, and it was a masterclass from Adam Morgan. Very emotional Adam Morgan. Never seen that before. I've been teammates with Adam for 1 round at Knockhill. I don't know him massively well, but that's how much pressure I think had been put on him not from the Sisley team, but the pressure of not performing last year and then getting new sponsors and getting everything together. He's a new dad as well, and it's amazing, isn't it, what all those kind of things can do and mix into your emotions and feelings. It was amazing to see that. When I first seen Adam was pretty upset talking to Louise Goodman in the interview. Straight away I said to David Addison, I was like, what's up with Adam? And David said, I just think it's the big pressure, mate, from everything that's happened, and hasn't, had a proper win for a long time. So yeah, it was good to see that. And Adam's he's a nice kid, and it was nice to see it meant so much to somebody like him, who I thought was like the Iceman, Kimi Räikkönen. But yeah, there you go. Who else do we need to speak about? Yes, right. So, Creasy. He's had 4 wins in the Jack Sears Trophy. He's leading it. It's a close battle, but it does seem to be going in the direction he wanted it to. And, fair play to him, because he said to me early on that he wanted to win the Jack Sears. He's going the right way about it, but he's got his ex-teammate Bobby Thompson on his case at the minute. So I think it's quite difficult for him through the year to try and get away from Bobby and the other guys that are in it as well. James Gornall's won a race, I think, in it as well. So, there's a few people there who are capable of taking that crown out of his grasp. But I still have a lot of faith in Creasy, because he's done so well up to now, and I do think that he will get even better as the year progresses. So let's see if we can give him a ring. I said I'd give him a ring on my Bluetooth. Hopefully it works. There we go. It's ringing. Let's see. He better answer, or I will not be happy. When in Rome, when in Scotland.
Good morning.
Michael Crease, how are you, lad?
I'm all right, mate. I'm very chilled in a nice, wet, rainy Scotland.
Oh yeah, listen. It sounds a bit random, that coming from a southerner complaining about the weather. That's all southerners ever say about the weather up here. I think it's mint.
Oh, it's ridiculous, though, mate. Honestly, we left Oulton Park on Monday in convoy behind Josh, and we got here, around about 4 o'clock in the afternoon Monday, and it hasn't stopped raining since we've been here.
So you've been there all week, and you've got the flu.
It's literally, we haven't come out of our... We've just been drinking hot cups of tea with each other in each other's can bun. I was like, talking about this, I was like, "You gonna come round mine tonight?"
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Have you been having film club? Have you been watching films?
Yeah, we watched Night in the Museum last night.
Oh, lovely. Oh, my.
Great film.
I miss touring cars. I want to be a driver in the middle of a pandemic.
Oh, yeah, it's to be fair. Well, he certainly got me back yesterday. He took, obviously for the crash race to Oulton Park.
Yeah.
He got me back big time, because that massive, great big hill at Knockhill.
Yeah.
He took me running up that, and I woke up this morning. I'm in absolute bits. I can't even move.
Are you joking me? You ran up the Knockhill hill?
Yeah, he done it in 12 minutes. It took me about 3.5 hours.
Hey, mate, listen. How many people will watch this, and how much brake pressure in bar do you have to put through the brake pedal to get it stopped?
About 60.
Mate, yeah. If you want to stop at the hairpin, I'd say it's probably about 900 bar in it.
Yeah.
So good luck with that, mate. Someone's going to get drilled in qualifying.
Yeah, my legs are like gelling this morning. So, but to be honest, he hasn't. He must still be asleep or something because he hasn't been pestering me today. So he must be feeling it as well.
Hey, this is perfect weather for the Ginger Ninja, innit?
Oh, I tell you what, he's a phenomenal athlete. When I got to one point of it, I couldn't even walk up it, let alone run up it, and he just picked it all the way to the top.
Oh mate, I love it. Hey, listen, Creasy, we've heard from Josh about his weekend and the unfortunate thing that you just mentioned about round 2. It was a right shame that when it 3-1 looked like a bit of a lock up on the inside from you, and just one of those things, mate.
No lock up, mate. No lock
Okay.
up. I stopped the car for the corner, but this we've been looking at it, and he's been sort of teaching me where I went wrong and where I didn't go wrong, and Chris Smiley must have been laughing his head off in that lid because what happened was. Danny Buxton, I was talking to Danny Buxton about it after, and he said to me, when you're alongside someone like that, he said, all you got to do is what they do, and you've got the corner because you're on the inside, and you just slow it down naturally alongside them. He said, but a rookie error, which is what I done, was try to outbrake him. He took me to the limit. I outbraked him to try and win the corner like any other racing driver would, but unfortunately Josh was already past him, but I had my eye on Smiley and didn't see Josh. So it was just one of them things, if it would have been another car and not my teammate, we wouldn't even be talking about it.
That is so true, mate. And Josh seemed as good as he could about it. He knows the sketching. I know he's very fond of you, but he did say that you weren't allowed in his camper van to watch the Indy 500 on Sunday night.
Yeah, I was gutted about that, to be fair. So I knocked on at about 6:30 with a couple of bottles of beer and a white flag and some onions around my neck, like a Frenchman, and he let me in, and then I had to make him a bacon and mushroom sandwich in the morning, and then I think we've forgotten about it since then. So,
mate, that is that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Well, just quickly, fella, I'll let you go in a sec, but 4 wins in the Jack Sears, leading it. You've always said to me that's your main focus. You've got some good pedallers behind you, your ex-teammate Bobby Thompson. Is it going well? Can you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had the pace all year now. I believe in myself. My confidence is growing. The team are really working hard. We know that's the goal, and I've got to win that, and that's a big part of my year, because if I win that, my sponsors come back next year. If I don't win that, I don't know what's going to happen. We always set a goal, like you always known. So it is mine to lose, I think. I mean, I should have been 15 points clear, but losing the rear in race 3 into Cascades has cost me dearly. But it's touring car, mate. Anything can happen. I mean, that Jack Sears is swapping about all the time. I mean, I went in 5 points clear of Boardley, and I've come out 4 points clear of Thompson. So, I'm looking at the positives of that side of things. It's going to be tough, but I think the Honda FK8 has got the legs, and I'm really looking forward to Knockhill, which is one of my favourite tracks.
Yeah, wicked, mate. Well, listen, that makes sense, actually, because at the end of the day, it's a title battle you're involved in now. Doesn't matter if it's overall or Jack Sears, you're battling for a title, so it's going to be swings and roundabouts, but like you say, you just got to finish.
That's it. I don't know if you cast your mind back to Ginetta G55 days. I out-qualified Harry King, the pros, in Oulton Park that weekend. Trying to race the pros as an amateur, ended up throwing it off all weekend, didn't get any podium or anything, and then Colin White sat me down and said, you need to focus on your own championship, even though I was against him, and that's what I did from Oulton Park going forwards, and I ended up podium all the way in and won the championship. So coming from Oulton Park, that's exactly the same mindset I'm in now. I couldn't care if I'm fighting for 16th, but as long as I win the Jack Sears, it doesn't matter. After coming off of Brands and Donington, I got a bit big above my boots and thinking I could fight for top 6, top 10. That's not my championship. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I've got to reset and go for the Jack Sears.
Yeah, no, fair play, mate. And listen, all the best for Knockhill. You've already had your best qualifying at P12 at Oulton. Absolutely stunning stuff, mate. Knockhill, pole.
Well, we worked out the law of averages. I've been a second to 1.4 seconds quicker than last year's car at every track. So if I'd done that here, I'd be P2.
Oh, right. Well, you heard it here first. Creasy's going to be on the front row. Oh, mate, luck, wicked. Mate. Hey, listen, I'll catch you over the weekend, probably when I'm coming out of the ITV compound out of quarantine, mate. So have a good one, lad.
And you, mate, and you. Thanks for all the support, mate. I really appreciate it from the last show you've done as well. Honestly, mate, that is, you're a true mate. So cheers.
Oh, no worries, Creasy. Have a good one, fella. All my best, mate.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Boyo. Bye-bye, mate. Bye-bye. Well, then, there you go. Well, that worked out quite well, didn't it? He actually answered. Interesting from Creasy, that, about the mindset of going for a title, especially Jack Sears. It's like any title, it's just swings and roundabouts. You look after your own thing, risk and reward, and you have to go from there. So good stuff. Right, let's wrap it up with what I think's going to happen at Knockhill, or what I think you should look out for at Knockhill. Another tight, twisty circuit. Couple of, the first corner, Duffer's Dip, my word, that is a real tricky corner. Loads of curb you need round there, and you need a car that has got the best traction you can ever think of. So when you put things together like that, 2 cars come out of my brain, and that is BMW and also the Infinity as well. Both rear-wheel drive. I think they'll be in a league of their own, if I'm honest. Maybe not a league of their own, but I think they'll be the big point scorers. It's going to be dry weekend by the looks of it. But for me, I would say Ash Sutton, Aidan Moffat. Moffat was fast last year around there, real quick in the Infinity when he first got it. I think it was his second round in, and they were really, really quick. So look out for Ash Sutton and Aidan Moffat. Obviously, the BMWs, without saying, the rear-wheel drive, to get the traction down, especially when you've got little crests and hills. You get a lot of wheel spin in the front-wheel drive cars, but it's not too bad in a rear-wheel drive car because obviously the car's being pushed from the rear, so it can sit down with the weight and drive out. I'm going to say Butcher's going to have a really, really strong weekend, because the way that car took the curbs at Brands Hatch in the second weekend, it took a lot of curb at Paddock Hill Bend, and it didn't seem to unsettle the car. Now, the first corner at Knockhill is very critical. Duffer's Dip take a lot of curb on the way in, and it's how the car settles and sits and gets the traction. So how the tyres start to get into the tarmac after it's been unsettled by a curb strike. That was one of the best cars I'd seen around Paddock Hill Bend that weekend. Was the Ford Focus ST with Motorbase. So I'm going to say Butcher, with his knowledge, he was on pole last year by 2/10 in what now is Jake Hill's car, or that same type of car. So I'm going to say Butcher's going to be in for a good one. I'm hoping Josh Cook does well as well. He's got no ballast. He was fast in the wet and dry at Oulton. He was P20 last year, but he got to a reverse grid and finished second. Dan Camish is rapid round there as well. It's the same car as Josh's, so I'd like to think Josh can perform as well as Camish on his day. So I think that's one to look out for. Mike Bushell, I said, no weight and fast. A bit like Josh Cook was fast in the wet and dry, but I think Bushell, now he's got rid of the penalising ballast he had for that first race at Oulton, I think he could qualify even better. So maybe look out for him. Maybe in the top 10, I reckon. Last person, Jake Hill. Hopefully he's got all the electrical issues out of the way. And remember that he won his second race, but this was his first race proper because he was disqualified from the last one at Oulton last year. This was his first race win proper with trade price cars. So watch out for Jake Hill. And that car was on pole. That car that he's in, or that same type of car, that FK2, is the car to have round there front wheel drive wise. So I think that about wraps it up. Yeah. Thanks very much. I thought that was quite interesting, speaking to Creasy and also Cookie. So, right, I'm off to play golf. Now watch this drive.